Boom, boom. It's the Leo Be the Lion Show. Boom, boom. Gonna tell you what you need to know. Boom, boom. Now here comes your boy Leo. Hey everyone. Good afternoon. It's your boy Leo Be the Lion coming to you live from Subculture Radio, subcultureradio.com. Here at Respectable Street on Clematis in West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm happy to be bringing to you today episode 10 of the Leo Be the Lion Show. Can you believe it? And I have a great show for you today. Make sure if you're not already, follow me on Twitter at Leo Be the Lion Show and Instagram at Leo Be the Lion Show. And if you'd like, check out my YouTube videos on Leo Be the Lion on YouTube. And comment, subscribe, and share. I'd love to know what you think about my shows. Any feedback is welcome. And I'd love to know what you think about my topics. If you disagree with me about my takes, let me know. We can debate. All right. So now let's get into it today. First topic of the day, we're going to get right in, and it's going to be a great show. We're going to be talking about the Miami Dolphins' great win over the Buffalo Bills. Oops. We're a live show, ladies and gentlemen. Anything can happen. So then we'll be talking about NFL news and notes. I picked out 5 games. You'll notice I like the number 5, so I like to do a 5-pack of picks, pick out 5 games. Let's go over, let's talk about it. 5 games, 5 NFL news and notes I'll be bringing to you today here on the Leo Be the Lion Show. Then we'll get into college football recap. I'm wearing my UCF alumni shirt. Let's go Knights. We took care of business today, but we'll also be talking about other local teams like Miami, what happened to them, come on Hurricanes, what y'all doing this year, and Florida State. Florida State is actually looking like a bounce-back team this year, so we'll see what they can bring to the table. Then we'll be getting into hashtag 5-pack of picks. Recapping my 5-pack of picks, I pick 2 college games and 3 NFL games against the spread every week. And I'm going to be recapping them, what I thought, what ended up happening, giving you an update of my record. And then also I'm going to be picking 5 games, another 2 college, 3 NFL against the spread. And hopefully put some money in your bank. Shorty, what you drank. Let's go. So for the Leo Be the Lion Show, let's get right into the first topic of the day. The first topic is the Miami Dolphins' thrilling 21-19 victory. And I'm talking about, when I say thrilling, I was jumping up and down. 2 straight weeks in a row, the Dolphins have me almost having a cardiac event. My heart was pounding for the 10 minutes after the game. It took me a while for my blood pressure to regulate. Yo, maybe I need to go see a doctor, but come on, Dolphins. Don't make it that hard on me, guys. So the first thing I want to touch on about the Dolphins' victory is how resilient of a team this is this year. In the past, the Miami Dolphins would have no chance of winning these last 2 games. If the Dolphins would have gotten down at halftime against the Ravens, chances are Brian Flores would have packed it in at halftime. They would have tried to run the ball a couple times in the third quarter, maybe a play-action pass. Then they would have been able to. Then they would have just kind of mailed it in once the defense couldn't stop the Ravens. If it was 31-7, 35-14, there's no way we would have come back in recent years. And I can't think of any team in recent years with the Dolphins that we would have been able to come back with, because we've never had a prolific offense like this. So then, if you're talking about just last week or just yesterday with the Buffalo Bills, the Dolphins were resilient. We didn't give up. Yeah, we were only down 3 points at a key moment. But we were able to stop the Bills' offense in a league where the Bills haven't been stopped. In the last 7 games, the Bills had only punted twice. They've only had games where they've punted twice. So out of the last 7 games, there's only been 2 games where they've had to punt. The other 5 games, they didn't have to punt all game. So their offense is prolific. So the Dolphins were able to stop that prolific offense and hold them to only 19 points. Well, technically only 17 points, because the safety wasn't the result of the offense. The safety was the result of the Dolphins' defense, and they almost had to do it that way, and I'll explain in a little bit. So Tua showed resolve also. Yeah, they said that he had he took a pretty big hit. He got pushed down. He hit his head on the ground, and probably got his bell rung. But he was able to pass the concussion protocols. I'm confident in the Dolphins. I'm confident in the NFL having an independent review of the concussion protocols. And if he passed the concussion protocols, I say you put him back in. And if he didn't, you shouldn't have put him back in. I'll hold the Dolphins. I'm a Dolphins fan, but I can be objective. If Tua failed the concussion protocols and he still went back in the game, that should cost the Dolphins something, maybe a draft pick or something like that, because we want to try to protect the players around here. And I know the NFLPA is looking into, Adam Schefter reported that the NFLPA is looking into the investigation regarding whether Tua actually was rightfully let back in the game or not, and whether the Dolphins followed all the rules and was above board when letting Tua come back in the game. Also, he had such great plays. He only had to throw the ball 18 times to win the game, but he completed 13 out of 18. So when you complete 13 out of 18 and almost 65% of your passes, that's a great completion percentage. Great completion percentage for a quarterback. Anything over 60% is a great completion percentage for a quarterback on the day. You expect to win those games when your quarterback can throw for those type of yardage and be efficient, not turn the ball over, and that's what Tua did. He was able to hold on to the ball. Yeah, he got sacked one time. After that hit, he was out of the game for the last 5 minutes of the second quarter, and then he was able to come back in. And he looked okay when he threw the deep bomb to Jalen Waddle that changed the game. The Dolphins were down 17-14 in the third quarter. And there was 11:35 to go in the fourth quarter. And the Dolphins were down 17-14. And Jalen Waddle runs a double move route. He takes the ball, or he takes his route, first little 5-7 yards, then fakes like he's gonna go out, like he's gonna be an outward flag route, and then instead he cuts back in to split the safeties. Now the safeties are running a cover 2 shell or a Tampa 2 type shell, and what that is they want to have two safeties where each safety are the last line of defense for their team. And one safety covers the left side of the field, the other safety covers the right side of the field, and they say, don't let anything get behind you, cover that side of your field, and you'll be fine. Well, the trick is if you can split those safeties, usually when a team is playing Tampa 2 or cover 2 defense, the middle linebacker will take a zone right in the middle all the way deep when the safeties split. And I know that's tough to hear if you're listening on the radio on subcultureradio.com. If you're watching on my YouTube channel, thank you for watching. Leo Be the Lion, Leo Be the Lion Show. You can listen to me live, subcultureradio.com. If you click on the live radio link, or not there, I'll upload it to YouTube later in the week. But if you have the two safety shell and you have the middle linebacker dropping back into coverage, theoretically the middle linebacker is supposed to cover that deep middle route. However, the Dolphins play caller, Mike McDaniel, who happens to be the head coach, thankfully we have a great mind at offensive coordinator / head coach, a great mind calling these plays. So Tyreek Hill ran a deep in down the middle, and so he was able to occupy the middle linebacker. Tua was able to look off the left safety and give Jalen Waddle just enough space to fit right in between the two safeties, and then Tua dropped a dime on 3rd and 22, ladies and gentlemen. He dropped a dime. He literally just put the ball in Jalen Waddle's pocket. Like, it was literally like if he 45-yard handoff. That's how accurate Tua was on that play. And it was a 3rd and 22 play. It was to literally get the ball 1st and goal at the Bills' 7-yard line, and it was able to put us in position to take the lead 21-17. And we all know that was the game-winning touchdown because we won the game. The Dolphins won the game 21-19. So I'm really proud of the Dolphins, the way that they showed resiliency, the way that Tua did, coming back in the game and taking the lead and leading the Dolphins to a key win, especially against tough defense when they took Tyreek Hill away. Tyreek Hill only had 2 catches for 33 yards. Jalen Waddle was the leading receiver with 4 receptions for 104 yards. River Craycraft was able to catch one of those touchdown passes, and then Chase Edmonds ran in 2 short rushes for touchdowns. We need to be able to run the ball better. The Dolphins do. But I'm proud of the way the Dolphins played. The defense, everybody was talking about how hot it was in Miami and how the Bills were suffering through the heat and how the Bills were catching cramps and doing all that. And meanwhile, the Dolphins defense was chilling, doing good because we've been in the sun all year. Florida. We live in Miami. I mean, we live in West Palm Beach, but the Dolphins practice down in Davie. And when they're practicing down in Davie in the Miami Gardens area, it gets hot down there. So they've been in there since August. They wear white at home. The stadium is engineered to have the home field advantage. And so don't blame us, blame the sun. It's just Mother Nature for you. So that's how that goes if the Bills fans are salty about the Bills not being conditioned well enough. Y'all better run them wind sprints or something to get tighter, Buffalo. We'll see y'all later in the year. Now, the Dolphins' ability to play defense when it really mattered has impressed me this year so far. When we take a look at it, the Dolphins' goal line or red zone defense has to be in the top 5 in the league. We were able to stop the Baltimore Ravens multiple times on the goal line, and we were able to stop the Buffalo Bills multiple times in the red zone yesterday. They went 2 for 4 in the red zone. We went 3 for 3 in the red zone, and that was your difference in the ball game right there. The defense is like a bend but don't break. It reminds me of our old Miami Dolphins defense, but the one difference is we feel faster on defense. We have playmakers, we have corners, but we just feel a little bit faster. We have that speed at the linebacker. Jerome Baker's a good tackler. We have great speed, and I can't wait till Byron Jones comes back, because when he comes back, the Dolphins will be fully healthy on defense, and we'll really see how they can improve and how they can get better as the season goes along, because I know that they can peak at the right time. Now, like I said, Chase Edmonds had 2 touchdown runs, and Waddle had that 4 receptions for 104. And I'm just thinking about the Dolphins. What's the difference between the Dolphins starting 3-0 this year versus other years? Well, the first thing that I can think of is that they have a way better offense. In the past 20 years, the Dolphins haven't had an offense like this. I actually think since 1999. So let's go past 23 years. The Dolphins hadn't had an offense like this since Dan Marino retired. So let's go there first. Second reason why the Dolphins offense is the reason for them being 3-0, but also the reason why this 3-0 is different, is that the Dolphins defense is playing complementary football as well as the Dolphins special teams. It's a whole 3-way effort. If Thomas Morstead, he did punt the ball off Sherfield's bottom, off his butt. It was a butt punt. He punted it off his butt, and it went out of the back of the end zone, and the Dolphins got a safety. But that was actually better, because if he would have punted it normally, and say the ball goes as your average 45 yards, he was already at the back of the end zone. So if it goes your average 45 yards, that means the Dolphins defense has to stop the Bills from scoring a touchdown from their 35-yard line with 1 minute and 45 seconds left. So the Bills would have only had to go 35 yards to score a touchdown. But instead, the Dolphins give them the safety, which was tough because you didn't want to really give them the safety because you also didn't want to put them within field goal striking distance. But to give them the safety, it was like, all right, fine, we give them the safety. Then on the safety kick, on the punt, so those of you that don't know, when the offense gets tackled with possession of the ball inside their own end zone, so behind them, inside their own end zone, it's a safety. And the defense is rewarded the ball back. So the Dolphins had to punt the ball away. And Thomas Morstead, the punter for the Dolphins, was able to punt the ball 74 yards from his own 25-yard line. And then the Bills were able to return it to the 23. So we were able to get a great punt and put the Bills backed up in field position at their own 23 with 1:30 left and no timeouts, instead of being at our 35 with 1:45 and no timeouts. So that was clutch, in my opinion. I really think Thomas Morstead should get a game ball for that. That was a key moment in trying to win this game. The Dolphins were almost out of it a couple times, but they stayed with it. They went punch for punch with a great team. They went punch for punch with what many people think are the possible Super Bowl representatives from the AFC this year. Next week is week 4. We'll reach the quarter post of the season, and I'll be going over looking at my preseason predictions and updating them a little bit if I need to. But for the Dolphins so far, I don't need to update anything. I think the Dolphins are still going to go 12-5, and I really had that prediction, the 12-5 prediction, thinking with the Dolphins would actually be swept by the Bills. I thought we would lose to the Bills, maybe the Packers, and then 2 other teams, I think, if we play. 2 other tough teams, maybe like the Vikings or somebody, and then 1 other team. But we've beaten the Bills already once, and then we beat the Ravens, and people thought we were going to lose to the Ravens. So I'm happy. Like I said, if 3-1, we're already looking at least 3-1, at the most 4-0 after the first 4 weeks. And you couldn't ask for a better start to the season for the Miami Dolphins. 3 wins. Everybody's relatively healthy. We don't have too many injuries on the squad. Greg Little, our right tackle, dislocated his finger twice yesterday. And he came out. He said, put it back in place. They put it back in place. Then he had to come out again in the third quarter. He said, wrap it up. So he came back onto the field with his glove on, with his 2 middle fingers wrapped together with about like an inch thick of tape so that his finger wouldn't dislocate again. And it was just hilarious. And I was just proud. Commendations go to Greg Little for getting back in the game when your quarterback, when your team needs you. Great job, Greg Little, to be resilient. And that's the theme of the day. The Dolphins are resilient. The theme of the team so far is resiliency. We're never out of a game. You never count the Dolphins out. It's a whole 4-quarter game. You got to earn every yard. You got to beat us. You might go for 500 yards, but the Bills went for 500 yards yesterday, but they lost the game. That doesn't mean anything. They ran 90 plays. The Dolphins only ran 31 plays, and they ran like 51 more plays than us, and they only scored 17 points. So, go Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1. Let's go. And Tua for president. Let's go. So, with that being said, Dolphins are on to the Bengals next week. Coming up Thursday night, TNF, Thursday Night Football, only on Amazon Prime, which I'm disappointed about because, literally, if you're not local, you can't watch the local games. Like, if your team isn't in Cincinnati this week or this Thursday, or isn't in the Miami-Dade area where you can get, the CW or the or Channel 7, you might not be able to watch the game if you don't have Amazon Prime. And yeah, I think it's kind of like a cheap move. It seems like a monopolistic move, kind of to Amazon Prime, to say, okay, well, if you want to watch the show, you got to subscribe to our thing. It's not, it just feels kind of like shiesty to me. But Amazon Prime, just to show how much my opinion mattered, Amazon Prime had 13 million subscriptions the first time Thursday Night Football was played on Amazon Prime. So they're marketing, they're forcing people, they're bottlenecking people to go right there. I guess it's working if you can get 13 million subscribers on the first game of Thursday Night Football. So the Dolphins are 17-7 all time against the Cincinnati Bengals. And being 17-7, the last time we've played the Bengals, the last two times I think we've beaten the Bengals, there was a one time recently on Thursday Night Football we wore our orange jerseys, and we beat the Bengals 22-20, walk-off safety fashion. Cameron Wake got a safety on Andy Dalton, and the Dolphins won the game 22-20. Well, what's funny is that the Dolphins are coming into the game still as underdogs. Yeah, we got to go to Cincinnati. Yeah, it's on a short week, but it's a short week for Cincinnati too. Cincinnati has T. Higgins. Cincinnati has Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase. They have a great receiving core. But the Dolphins are built to stop high-flying offenses. They're built to be a bend but don't break. The Dolphins have three good corners. We have great safeties. And Javon Holland is on his way to be an all-pro safety. He's showing flashes of greatness that he's on his way to being one of those all-time great safeties. So we're ready for the Bengals. Just got to prepare. The Cincinnati's coming in 1-2 after beating, finally getting their first win of the year against the Jets yesterday. And we all know that the Dolphins are undefeated. They're doing that to honor the 50th anniversary, the undefeated anniversary of 1972 Dolphins. Shout out to shout out to those guys, Larry Zonka, Jim Kick. Rest in peace to Jim Kick. And we love the 72 Dolphins around here. So let's go, guys. All right, now let's talk about the NFL news and notes. I'm giving you 5 games that I think we should focus in on, that are games that were important for the landscape of the league, were important for several teams. And let's get started right away. We're going to talk about the first game that happened yesterday that I think you should look out for, or that you should take a look at, was the Bengals versus the Jets. The Bengals beat the Jets 27-12, and Burrow was back at it. He had 3 touchdowns. He didn't get sacked. He got sacked 1 time, but still, that's better than a 5-6 sack outing. And he was able to pass the ball around to his receivers. They had 3 great receivers, like I said: Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. And they were able to each get, almost all 3 of them got a touchdown pass. Chase and I believe T. Higgins got a touchdown pass, whereas Tyler Boyd, he didn't get one, but he got a bunch of yardage. So they were able to help the Bengals get the lead. Out it turned into a field goal fest because the Jets kicked 4 field goals, the Bengals kicked 4 field goals, and it was just who was going to be able to outkick each other. But the Bengals had made the difference. The Bengals were able to take the difference and win the game 27-12. Then, after that, the next game we're going to get into is Detroit versus Minnesota. The Detroit Lions, coming into this game, were 2-0, and I was expecting them to go 3-0 fully. I really believe in the Lions this year. It's not because my name is Leo B. the Lion. It's not because I have the Leo B. the Lion show. I just happen to be a lion because, Leo actually means lion and, the etymology and stuff like that. So, but I do like the Lions. Detroit is a good team. They're downtrodden, man. They don't get enough love for the blue and silver. There's not enough love for the Lions. So come on, Lions. They came in 2-0, playing against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings were 1-1. The Vikings had came in and won their first game handily, and then on Monday night they got beat up by the Giants, by the Eagles. And so I really thought Kirk Cousins, he was going to play a little bit better, but I really thought the Lions were going to win this game, and the Lions were actually winning at one point 24-7. The Vikings were able to come back and score with about a minute left to take the lead for the first time in the entire game, 28-24, and that's how the game finished. I was so surprised by the Lions, but the Lions are going to have to learn how to win. They're so used to losing that they invent new ways to lose all the time, and that's the sad part about the Detroit Lions. They need to be able to somehow turn that franchise around. They haven't won a championship, an NFL Super Bowl. Their last championship for the Detroit Lions was, I believe, in 1950, and that was before the NFL currently as exists. Like I said, exists as today. That was before the Super Bowl era, so technically, I don't know really how much that counts. So come on, Lions, y'all got to show up better. You were leading the entire game, and I hope you bounce back next week. I'm kind of rooting for the Lions. And going forward, I think the next time the Lions play the Vikings, when the Vikings come into Ford Field to play the Lions, I really do think the Lions will be ready for them. And I think that the Lions will take that game. The Lions were early favorites to show for the division, being 2-0 after the Packers, the Bears, and the Vikings had all taken losses. But each of those teams now are 2-1, and I believe the Bears are 1-2. Or actually, no, they're 2-1 as well. So all teams in the NFC North are tied for being 2-1. So let's see where that division goes. It's going to be a tough division to win this year. Now, looking at our third game, I think this was the surprise of the day yesterday. Besides the Miami Dolphins kicking butt, and shocking the world, because if you saw on Twitter, Instagram, oh yeah, and follow me, by the way, Leo Be the Lion Show, Leo B, the letter, B as in boy, the Lion Show, at Twitter and Instagram, and follow me on YouTube. Subscribe if you please at Leo Be the Lion. You can follow me. You'll see my beautiful mug with some sunglasses. That's how you'll know it's me, Leo Be the Lion, on my YouTube channel. But this was the surprise of the day, in my opinion. The Jacksonville Jaguars went to San Diego. Oh, excuse me. They play in Los Angeles now. I always forget that. It's been like 3 years. But the Los Angeles Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers. Say it one more time. The Los Angeles Chargers lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars 38-10. Ouch. Ouch, Chargers. That one, y'all are underachieving like crazy. I'm just kind of happy about it, though, because everybody was on the Charger bandwagon before the preseason. Oh, Justin Herbert, Justin Haybear. You know, I call him Haybear until he gets better. Then we can call him Herbert, how he wants to be called, but I'll call him Haybear. Because there was a Detroit Lions quarterback named Bobby Haybear back in the day and was spelled the same as Justin Herbert. So, Herbert, you're underachieving, and it's the surprise of the day because nobody expected Jacksonville to be competitive this year. They thought it would be like year 2 of tanking. The analysts all thought Jacksonville would not win the division, the AFC South division. They thought it was the Colts division to win and the Titans, and they were counting out the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, quietly, the Jacksonville Jaguars are 2-1, and they've surprisingly handled some teams in their division. Last week they handled the Colts. They were able to beat the Colts and shut them out 24-0. And I was completely shocked by that because I was kind of drinking the Kool-Aid about Trevor Lawrence and Etienne and the Jags not being ready to take that next step. But I was wrong. I was incorrect. Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne Jr. and Laviska Shenault and all the Dolphins, yeah, I'm excited for the Dolphins. All the Jacksonville Jaguars are taking that next step forward because of that new coach. It's amazing what you can do when your coach isn't Urban Meyer. I'll say that one more time. It's amazing what you can do when your coach isn't gallivanting, staying behind in different cities to, honeypunk and stuff like that. It's amazing what not having Urban Meyer as your coach and having Doug Peterson, who is a good quarterbacks coach, having Doug Peterson, who's an offensive mind, be your coach. They're the surprise team this year in the AFC besides the Dolphins, in my opinion. The Dolphins have won 2 games where 90% of the experts picked them to lose, and same with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've shocked the world so far. So the Jacksonville offense has all the pieces, and the defense is steady. So we'll see what happens this year with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's only 3 weeks, but they've been able to beat 2 relatively good teams, especially the Chargers 38-10. I literally thought when the Chargers have Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack and Derwin James and a slew of defensive great players coming back to play, that they were going to destroy any team, and they were going to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs for the AFC West division. But it's looking like that's not going to be the case this year. It's really looking like the Chargers and the Raiders are going to be the bottom feeders of the AFC West. It really looks like so far, only after 3 games, let's put that little caveat on there, but only after 3 games, it looks like it's going to be the Chiefs, the Broncos. The way they win games is crazy with their defense and special teams and Russell Wilson doing just enough. And then it's going to be the Chargers, and then the Raiders are going to finish. It's interesting how the Raiders are now 0-3. They just can't seem to get it together. Whenever they need to stop, they can't really stop a team. But also their offense isn't clicking. So it's taking their offense to get some chemistry. Yeah, it is only week 3. But at the same time, you got to remember that it's not until we get to week 7, week 8, week 9, where teams are really trying to run on all cylinders. A lot of teams treat the first 4 weeks as the preseason, even though they shouldn't, even though it's kind of a hubris from their perspective, because every week matters in the NFL. The Dolphins for the last 2 years have missed the playoffs by 1 game. Every week matters in the NFL, so I'm happy that the Dolphins are 3-0. I'm happy that the Jags are doing well. And this next game that's coming up, and I have to say one more thing about the Chargers. The Chargers have historically been that team. And I know you guys, if you ladies and gentlemen, if you've heard NFL Primetime at any moment in these past 20 years and you've heard Boomer, Chris Berman talk about the Chargers, it seems like every year they have the talent. And Chris Berman would be like, come on, San Diego. This is your year. Come on, Chargers. And then he would slip in with the Arnold Schwarzenegger clip where it'd be like, go, Chargers, go. And it would be like, come on. They'd always want the Chargers to win. So it's just so funny that it's another year like that where it's saying, oh, man, the Chargers are my preseason favorites. People are saying that, da-da-da. But look at the Chargers. They're 1-2, and they're getting blown out of the water at home. That means they're getting blown out of the water in Los Angeles, 38-10 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that many people thought that weren't even going to make the playoffs this year and have a top 5 draft pick this year. So that being said, let's move on to the 4th game that I thought was very interesting. The 4th game that caught my eye and was surprising was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Green Bay Packers. And this game was in Tampa Bay. So Aaron Rodgers had to come down to the humidity, the heat in Tampa Bay, and face the Tom Brady-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is the battle of number 12s. This is the battle of, because they each wear the number 12, this is the battle of Hall of Fame, future Hall of Fame, what some would say greatest prolific quarterback in Aaron Rodgers versus greatest accolade quarterback in Tom Brady. So, but me personally, I still think Dan Marino is better than Aaron Rodgers. So don't at me, or you could at me at Leo Be the Lion Show on Twitter. I personally think Dan Marino is the most prolific passer of all time, whereas Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all times in terms of accolades and awards. So, that being said, the Green Bay Packers came into Tampa Bay to face the Bucs, and it was a defensive game. And that's the funny part. Everybody thought it was going to be a high-scoring affair with 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but the game finished 14-12. The Tampa Bay offense was only able to score 6 points at the end of the game. They went for it on 2 point. They went for a 2-point conversion to try the game 14-14 to try to tie the game. But they were unable to do that, and the Packers were able to win 14-12. It's the first loss for the Bucs. So the Bucs are 2-1. I believe the Packers are 2-1. And don't look now, but Aaron Rodgers, after that first week drubbing, is now building the chemistry with his receivers. Romeo Doubs was able to get the game-winning catch. He's now able to build that chemistry with his receivers, with his running backs. He's able to get the running game going. And if the Packers give Aaron Rodgers any type of defense, the NFC's in trouble. And my Super Bowl prediction of the Packers going to the Super Bowl might look even brighter if the Packers can get their receiving core in order and build the chemistry between the receivers and Aaron Rodgers. Let's see what they can do. Now, the 5th and final NFL news and note game that I want to give you is, I try to be local, so I go over the Dolphins game. I talk about the Tampa Bay Bucs. We talk about the Jaguars being a surprise team of the year. But now let's bring it to a team that I really thought was going to be better, and a team that's kind of underachieving this year is the New Orleans Saints. So the New Orleans Saints went to Carolina yesterday to play the Carolina Panthers. And Carolina Panthers, before the year started, was picked to have not underachieved, but picked to finish at the bottom of the division of the NFC South, because the Panthers ended up having Baker Mayfield as their starting quarterback, and they had a competition between Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. So when you hear those 2 quarterbacks, that doesn't strike fear into the heart of anybody. So when you hear those 2 quarterbacks, you're thinking the Carolina Panthers aren't going to be that good this year, because as a quarterback, it's a passing league. the running ball helps. Having a good running game, the ball helps. But the Dolphins are 3-0, and they haven't run the ball for 100 yards yet in the game. They ran for 86. The first game they ran for 68, and this third game they ran for 47, and they're 3-0. So it's a passing league. It's a pass-first league. So I was surprised when the Panthers are having Baker Mayfield start, and they're able to take care of business against the Saints. Well, the first thing I have to say about that is that Jameis, I'm sorry, Jameis, man. I liked you when you played at FSU, but you're not it. Jameis, you're not it, man. Like, you threw 3 interceptions yesterday. You let the team down, and you have the talent around you. You have Kamara. You have Mark Ingram's back in the fold. Michael Thomas is back playing after not playing for 2 years. You have the weapons, but Jameis Winston isn't the type of quarterback to protect the ball. He turns the ball over too much. 2 years ago, Jameis Winston had 30 interceptions. He broke the record for the most interceptions in the season. And so Jameis ain't it. Like, Jameis, I don't think is going to be the long-term solution for the Saints. I think if they could, they would go to Ian Book or somebody else, but I don't think Ian Book is even on the Saints anymore, so they need to figure out what they're going to do at the quarterback position, because neither is Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is not a long-term solution at quarterback. He's more of like a gadget guy. He's more like, when I say gadget, he can run the wildcat, he can run a QB read, he can run some spread option, but he's not going to be your drop-back quarterback. He's not going to be your guy to throw the ball 40 times and win the game with your arm. He's going to win the game with his legs. So Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston just means that the Saints have a quarterback controversy on their hands, or a quarterback issue on their hands. Because when you have 2 quarterbacks, you really have none. So that's why I'm glad that the Dolphins are 100% behind Tua. So I'm glad that now Tua has the full opportunity to show, because you see with the Saints, when you're working with a 2-quarterback system, it really, in most cases, it doesn't work out that well. The Saints are underachieving. Like I just alluded to a few minutes ago, the Saints have Alvin Kamara, one of the most explosive running backs who can catch out of the backfield. He's one of those guys who, if you gave him the ball, he could catch the ball 75 times and have over like 300 carries on the ground as a running back, and that's excellent. That's like a superstar, top 5 fantasy football running back. So you have Alvin Kamara. You have Mark Ingram, who was a stalwart in the backfield for the Saints for many years, then went to Baltimore, and he's a bruiser. He's a former Heisman Trophy winner. So the Saints have those 2 running backs back. Then they had, that's like thunder and lightning. They both went to Alabama also. Then they have Michael Thomas on the outside. They have, I want to say Chris Olave on the outside. And I'm just shocked that the Saints aren't able to beat the Panthers. When you have Baker Mayfield at quarterback, you should be able to destroy the Panthers. But on any given Sunday, any team can beat any other team, as we've seen so far in just these past 3 weeks. Any team can beat any other team. You got to play a whole 60 minutes. You got to help them. You got to play every yard. And all that matters is, and to borrow a line from Madden, you just got to score more points than the other team. That's what really matters. That's what really comes down to it. But the Panthers executed, so the Panthers were able to defeat the New Orleans Saints 22-14, and I must say it was one of those defeats where it was surprising, but it's a divisional game, so I guess that's how you can see, divisional rivals. It's hard to tell, especially with the NFC South. The NFC South. The NFC South is one of those divisions where they haven't had a repeat division winner in, I want to say, 12 seasons, where every year you can count on a different team winning that division. And that's how competitive it is. Same with the NFC East, the division with the Giants, the Cowboys, the Commanders, and the Eagles. There hasn't been a repeat division winner there since, I believe, 2012. So, having said that, with your NFL news and notes, let's look out next week. It's going to be a lot of good games. Quick preview for the Monday Night Football game tonight. The Giants are 1-point underdogs against the Dallas Cowboys, and it's one of those NFC East rivalries where there's no love lost between these two teams. They don't like each other, but The Giants are going to have the early advantage in this one because although that Daniel Jones isn't too much of a quarterback, he's more of a quarterback than Cooper Rush is. Cooper Rush just got thrown into the wolves, if you will. Somebody just like threw him into the water and said, come on, go ahead and swim, try to swim. But after Dak Prescott went out week 1, Cooper Rush had to take over, and for at least 4 weeks, he's the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. So he got the win last week over the Bengals, but we'll see if the Bengals are any good in a few weeks. Cooper Rush was able to lead the Cowboys to a win over the Bengals 20-17 with the last-second field goal. But this week he's going up against a good Giants defense, a decent Giants defense. To be real, like the New York Football Giants have a pretty good defense, and they're able to stop the run just enough to beat teams, to be competitive. Then I believe in the Giants offense, Daniel Jones, but the one guy that I think who got me my fantasy football championship 2 years ago is Saquon Barkley. And I know that if Saquon Barkley has a game tonight against the Cowboys where he runs for at least 86 yards, I'm about to just call out stats right now. If he runs for 86 yards and he catches for 60 yards and has 1 touchdown, the Giants will win the game. The Giants can beat the Cowboys. They don't have to score a ton. They don't have to be world beaters. They probably just had to put up about 20 points. I think it's going to be a good 20-16 game where the Giants will take the lead and they won't give it up. I think that the Cowboys aren't ready to play. They're showing up Monday night. Cooper Rush. It's all about a quarterback-driven league. And when you have a rookie quarterback wet behind the ears, just thrown into the wolves, I don't think he's going to be able to perform against the Giants' defense. The Giants' defense are going to be playing. There's now film on Cooper Rush because he had to play last week. And so there's film on Cooper Rush. So the Giants have been ready to play against him for this whole week. They've been preparing play against Cooper Rush, and that's going to be important when it comes to execution for the Giants. I'm taking the Giants in this game. It's not one of my 5-pack of picks, but I'm taking the Giants in this game to be competitive, to finish the game, and for Saquon Barkley to really show that he's like an MVP candidate early in the season. Max Kellerman said on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max on ESPN in the mornings, he was talking about how if Saquon Barkley really has one of those years, he'll be able to rush and combined rush and receiving for 2,500 yards. So that means at least 1,800 yards rushing, 700 yards receiving. That would be insane if a running back in today's day and age did that and put up those kind of numbers. That would, I think, warrant him to be the MVP, especially if the Giants were playoff bound or the top 3 or 4 seeds in the playoffs or won the division. So, that being said, talking about NFL news and notes, I'd be remiss if we didn't transition right now to the college football game. The college football so far this year has been exciting. I'm really excited for the college football year so far. Let's talk about what happened this Saturday when UCF went up against Georgia Tech. Now, traditionally, you would think, okay, an ACC team against UCF, that might be a tough matchup. Well, UCF was able to handle their business, control the ball on the ground, and win the game 27-10 on the legs of John Rice Plumlee, the quarterback for the UCF Knights. Now, he was able to run for 100 yards, and he only passed for about 69 yards. And so this proves that the UCF Knights are a run-first, a run option team, run QB option type team. Like if John Rice Plumlee doesn't like to play, he's going to scramble. He's a scrambler. He's a run-first, then-pass quarterback. And that's the type of offense that kind of like Gus Malzahn likes to run. He likes to run with that shifty type offense and have running backs, multiple running backs, good shifty quarterback to throw at you so if you can stop and run the no huddle so that you're totally exhausted by the end of the game. That's the kind of offense that UCF likes to run. And good news, I am going to the UCF game this Saturday on October 1st against SMU Mustangs. I'm so excited. It's my first game of the year. The Knights are 3-1. We're going to try to make it 4-1. It's family weekend this weekend. I'll be going in there with my boy Anthony D'Amico. Shout out to Miko. We'll be going up there. Birdman and Wheezy taking over UCF. Hashtag holla at your boy. But anyway, back to business. The Knights are trying to win, get the win. So let's go Knights. Let's see what we can do on Saturday night against the SMU Mustangs. The second game that I want to talk about in college football that happened this weekend was BC, that's Boston College, coming in to play against FSU. FSU, in my opinion, is the surprise NCAA team this year. The FSU Seminoles are undefeated so far. They had that thrilling victory with the blocked kick against LSU, and they were able to take care of business against Duquesne and Syracuse. And now they had to play against a decent team, BC. I thought they were going to be, I thought it was going to be close. It was like a 7-point spread. However, the Noles were able to win 44-14, and they're rolling right now. Jordan Travis, West Palm Beach's own Jordan Travis, who went to Cardinal Newman High School, is leading the Florida State Seminoles to an undefeated record so far this season, on the ground and in the air. I'm really excited what the Florida State Seminoles have working for them. Before I went to UCF, I grew up in the 90s, so I grew up it was either down here, you were either a Canes fan, Florida State fan, or a UF fan. And specifically during the mid-90s, it was either you were a UF fan or a FSU fan, because those two teams were the two hottest teams in Florida at the time for college football. So I became a FSU fan. So I'm kind of excited to see how good FSU can be this year. Like I said a few episodes ago on the Leo Be the Lion show, that if an ACC team is really good, they can compete with any SEC team. Just like how we've seen with Florida State when they won the national championship in 2013. Also, like we saw with Clemson when they were able to beat and have those epic showdowns against Alabama. We've seen when an ACC team can compete and they are at the best of their game and the top of the game, they can compete with any team in the country. So I'm excited to see what West Palm Beach's own Jordan Travis from Cardinal Newman can lead the FSU Seminoles, along with Johnny Wilson. He's a 6'7" transfer from UCLA. He's 6'7" wide receiver. He's basically like a tight end, but he's got like 4.4 speed, 4.3 speed, so he's fast and he's tall. Then we have the Noles have three running backs in Trey Benson, Toafili, and Ward, and they are a three-headed juggernaut on the ground. So I'm excited to see what the Noles can do this year. Like I said, they're undefeated. Then we'll go to the upset of the weekend, I think, and that was Middle Tennessee State against the University of Miami Hurricanes. Middle Tennessee State won 45-31. In my opinion, this is an inexcusable loss. Middle Tennessee State paid the University of Miami over $1 million. Miami paid Middle Tennessee State over $1 million to come down to Miami and play the University of Miami. And the University of Miami got drubbed 45-31. And all I can say, it's the same old Hurricanes. The Canes aren't back. They're the same old Hurricanes. Started the season where, are they back? Are they not? And honestly, Tyler Van Dyke's comments hurt the team. Him saying that the crowd doesn't show up, him saying that home games aren't really favorable for the Hurricanes, I think really reverbed through the locker room. And the Canes looked like they didn't want to play on Saturday. They got ran off the field. And crowd or not, if you have a crowd or if it's no crowd, you still got to play hard. Like, aren't you, take pride in how you play? So crowd or no crowd, the U's not going to be back. And guess what, University of Miami Hurricanes? It's going to take y'all being back before the crowd comes back. Because you got to win for crowds in Miami to actually pay attention. You got those diehard fans, but not very many people went to the University of Miami. But you got those diehard fans, but for the crowds to come back for the U, you're going to have to actually start winning games consistently, and then the crowds will come back. So, after that quick little local NCAA recap, good job UCF, good job FSU. Step it up, Miami. I don't know what's wrong with y'all. We're going to go to my recap of my hashtag 5-pack of picks. Coming into the week, I was 9-8-2 on my 5-pack of picks. And let's take a look at the 5-pack of my picks last week against the spread of 2 college games, 3 NFL games. Let's get right into it. So the first game I had on the slate was Maryland plus 17 against Michigan. I remember thinking this is Michigan's first Big Ten game. Tua Tagovailoa's little brother, Taulia Tagovailoa, is leading Maryland. They were both 3-0. And Maryland was able to take care of business and cover. I had Maryland plus 17, and they lost the game 34-27. They lost the game by 7 points, and they were able to cover. So that's 1-0 for my 5-pack of picks. Let's get into the second college football game that I picked on my Leo Be the Lions hashtag 5-pack of picks, and that is the University of Florida Gators versus the Tennessee Volunteers. And the Gators were 11-point dogs going to Neyland Stadium, going up on Rocky Top, and they were 11-point dogs. And I said to myself, this is the Florida-Tennessee rivalry we're talking about. Tennessee's only beaten Florida twice in the past 16 years, and you're giving Florida 11 points. I'm taking that every day. I'm taking that bet every day. So when I saw Florida got 11 against Tennessee, I said, give me that. I'll take the points against Tennessee on the road, and Florida was able to win. Florida was only able to lose by 5, so I covered. That's 2-0 on my 5-pack of picks so far to recap. Then the third pick was the Steelers versus the Browns. I thought the Steelers were going to be able to beat the Browns on Thursday Night Football last week. I picked the Steelers plus the 5 against the Browns because I still kind of don't believe in Jacoby Brissett. But what's peculiar is that you see how limited Brian Flores was offensively as a coach. Because when Jacoby Brissett was on the Patriots, he looked like a decent backup. When Jacoby Brissett's on the Browns now, he looks like a decent backup. But when Jacoby Brissett was on the Dolphins under Coach Brian Flores, he didn't look like a decent backup. He looked like lucky to have a job quarterback. Like he looked like he couldn't produce anything. He went 1-3 with the Dolphins in his 4 games. But now he's leading the Browns to some victories against the Steelers, and the Browns were able to cover that 5 points, so I lost that on my 5-pack of picks. The Browns were able to win the game on Thursday night. Now let's go to the 4th pick, and that is the Miami Dolphins plus the 4.5 against the Buffalo Bills. Well, we know the Dolphins won outright. They won on the money line, 21-19. Shout out to the Dolphins being 3-0. They won. Let's go. So I'm 3-1 so far on my 5-pack of picks. If you notice, I'm going to be picking the Dolphins, or at least picking the game. I might not always put it on the Dolphins, depending on how the season goes, but that's going to be consistently one of my 5-pack of picks, and so far it's worked out for me. So 3-1 so far. Let's go to the last pick. It was the pick that I really thought was going to be the lock, and what I've learned is that I don't know the locks, so I'm not going to call it my lock anymore. But KC was -6 against the Colts. I thought the KC was at least going to show up and be on the turf and be able to run a little bit faster, even though they didn't have that home field advantage of Arrowhead Stadium. But the Colts were able to take care of business and win the game outright 20-17 and brought my 5-pack of picks to 3-2 on the week. So from 9-8-2, I went 3-2. So that brings my record now to 12-10-2 on the season. So 12 wins, 10 losses, and 2 pushes for the week. So these last few minutes, let's just talk about the 5-pack of picks, hashtag 5-pack of picks that your boy Leo Be the Lion has for this week coming up in college football and the NFL. The first game that I have is NC State plus 6.5 versus Clemson. I really think that Clemson just barely beat Wake Forest in overtime by 6 points, and I really think the NC State Wolfpack, being undefeated, will come in and take care of business and at least be able to cover. They might win outright against Clemson. It's number 10 versus number 5. NC State's number 10, Clemson's number 5. Let's see if who's going to blink first, which team's going to go continue to be undefeated, which team is going to lose. So I'm taking NC State Wolfpack plus the 6 and a hook versus Clemson Tigers. The second pick in Leo Be the Lions 5-pack pick is FSU -7 against Wake Forest. This, I'm going out on a limb. FSU's the favorite, even though it's going to be in North Carolina, in Wake Forest, in Winston-Salem. The FSU is, this will be the prove-it game for FSU. If FSU covers this 7 points against Wake Forest, they're legit 5-0. I don't care how you slice it. If FSU covers this 7 points against Wake Forest, they are legit 5-0. Put the whole nation on notice, because if FSU messes around and makes the college football playoffs, they'll be able to compete with any team you put in there. So I'm just giving anybody else a warning. This is the prove-it game for FSU. Come on, FSU. Don't let me down. They have a good quarterback, 3 great running backs, and Wake Forest just lost to Clemson. So let's see how it goes. Then third pick in the 5-pack of picks is the Dolphins +3 versus the Bengals. I just looked at the line right before I went live on subcultureradio.com. Mondays 5 to 6, Leo Be the Lions show. It moved to 3.5 already. And the fact that Dolphins are getting 3 and a hook against the Bengals, I'm going to fade the Bengals all day until they prove to me that they're back to Super Bowl form. So I think the Dolphins will win on the strength of the defense, strength of the offensive firepower, and I'm going to take the Dolphins +3 against the Bengals. And I'm happy we're dogs. Like I said, we're 17-7 all time against the Bengals, so bring it on. Now my fourth pick in a 5-pack of picks is the Jacksonville Jaguars +6 and a hook against the Eagles. The Eagles are undefeated as well, the only other undefeated team in the NFL besides the Dolphins, and they've been really winning and covering. I believe they're 3-0 against the spread. It's Doug Peterson's old team, so he'll be bringing the Jags up there to Philly to play. And the Jags and the Eagles are both playing in good form, so I can't wait to see. It's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a close game, and I really think the upstart Jaguars are going to surprise some people. They could win outright, but I see a 21-17 game where the Eagles end up winning and the Jags will still cover. Then my last pick in the 5-pack of picks is a game of 2 teams that the Dolphins just finished beating, and that is the Ravens going up to Buffalo to play as 3.5-point underdogs to play the Bills. It's a good game to gauge how good the Bills and the Ravens are, and to gauge how good the Dolphins are, because if the Bills blow out the Ravens or if the Ravens blow out the Bills, we're able to see how good the Dolphins are compared to that. And it's just a good test to see how the Dolphins' competition is. So I'm going to take the Ravens +3 and a hook against the Bills. So quick little recap of my 5 picks for the week. NC State +6 and a hook against Clemson, a battle of top 10 teams. Florida State laying the points, -7 against Wake Forest in Winston-Salem. It's the true test of whether FSU is back or not. Then we got Dolphins +3 versus the Bengals. Let's see if the Dolphins can move to 4-0 and finish the first quarter poll undefeated. Then we got the Jags +6.5 versus the Eagles. Let's see if the Jags are for real, and let's see if the Eagles can move to 4-0, or if Jalen Hurts will be stopped by that pretty decent Jags defense. And then finally on my fifth and final 5-pack of picks is the Ravens +3.5 versus the Bills. Like I said, it's a great game to gauge to see how the former Dolphins opponents play against each other. Well, this has been an excellent show. I just want to remind everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you, as always, for checking me out on YouTube. You can follow me on YouTube at Leo Be the Lion, and also on Twitter and Instagram at Leo Be the Lion Show. I'm happy to discuss with you if you have any feedback. I have been getting some feedback on the Dolphins on Facebook. If you'd like to follow me on Facebook also, just look for Leo Bejarano. That's Leo, and then B as in boy, EJARANO. And you can look for me. And I'm happy to discuss with you any feedback about the Dolphins, NFL, college picks. Like I said, I'm a UCF fan, FAU fan, and overall just the local teams I like to support and root and see how they do. You can find me on Mondays recording live here at Respectable Street on Clematis Street in West Palm Beach, Florida from 5 to 6. and on subcultureradio.com. If you go down to the middle of the page, there's a live radio link. And then after that, I upload the videos to YouTube. And like I said, you can check me out on Leo B. the Lion. This has been a great show, episode 10 of Leo B. the Lion Show. And it's Leo B. the Lion.